What's up? Leo here. I'm the man behind 1000 Life Lessons, a place where you can get inspiration, tips, tools, and techniques, and wisdom to transform your life. And I'm on a mission to help 1 million people transform their lives over the next 5 years. Today, I want to talk about the incredible benefits of doing a dopamine fast and how to get started. I want to start off today with explaining what the heck is a dopamine fast. Well, a dopamine fast is very similar to a regular fast where you abstain from something for a period of time in order to reap benefits. And if you think of a physical fast, you abstain from food or water, and there are incredible benefits that come with fasting. You can Google it and look up the benefits. So many physical benefits of fasting, but nobody ever really thinks that our mind and our emotional centers need a break as well. And that's where the whole idea of dopamine fasting comes from. You see, we in today's society are bombarded by technology, media, and overstimulation, and we have become a culture of indulgence. And what happens with this is it starts to bombard your brain receptors and the different functions of your mind and your brain, and it starts to desensitize you and affect your mood. So a dopamine fast is a break from the things that mentally overstimulate and overburden you so that you can have some healing take place, and most importantly, restore your mood, your happiness, your joy, your emotional levels. All of that takes place. Now, the most important benefit of a dopamine fast is the restoration of your baseline for pleasure. So what the heck is a baseline for pleasure? All right, well, here's what it is. Your baseline for pleasure is the set point where you feel a certain mood or emotion. Usually it feels like just okay. Nothing bad or sad, and nothing extreme like happy, joy, excited. It's the baseline, all right? And we all have a baseline for pleasure. Now, here's what happens when you go through insane amounts of overloading your brain with like social media, alcohol, sugar, porn, all this junk that comes into you. Your baseline for pleasure starts to decrease to a lower baseline. And what happens when you decrease to a lower baseline? It takes a heck of a lot to bring you up to that happy place. So what the idea behind the dopamine fast is, and the greatest benefit in my opinion, is it restores and resets your baseline for pleasure to a healthy place. Most people that have grown up in this new generation where there's no limit to how much you can do with like social media scrolling, like porn access, alcohol, like our culture has fueled indulgence. And the biggest detriment to society for that indulgence is a complete decrease of the baseline of pleasure. So it takes so much more for people to feel happy. Now, I want to share a quick story with you. I was traveling the world a few years ago. I did 2 years all over the world. And during my time in India, we were driving down this crazy highway that was like filled with 15 different cars from every different angle. And on the highway, there was a bunch of street vendors who would run up to your car and sell you stuff. And I'll never forget this one street vendor who ran up to our car. I was just sitting there in the backseat of the car trying to find myself. I was unhappy. I had just quit my job to travel the world to find myself, and I was just not really happy with myself and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I'll never forget when that guy came up to the window and he was selling a pile of books. And I made eye contact with him. And this is a guy who was so poor, he didn't have any shoes on. His clothes he'd probably been wearing them for months. And I looked at him and he looked at me and he just smiled at me. And it just lit me up. And I was like, wow, it blew my mind. How could somebody with nothing be happy? Obviously, it doesn't have to do with material. It has to do with other things, right? And I'll never forget looking past him in that moment And in the background on the street of this scorching hot highway in India, the busiest, dirtiest highway, is his wife, who is sitting in the back with a pile of books behind her, and his 1-year-old kid with no diaper just like running around, crawling on the mom, and the mom's holding a little infant in her arms. And it just melted my heart and opened my mind to the fact that it's not about pure material indulgence and getting more and chasing more. It was so heartwarming to see that poor family just light up and smile at the idea of somebody paying attention to them from a car. And that man just changed, it really did change my life, in the sense that we can become so unhappy and miserable when we go down the path of overindulgence. And that's why this message is so incredibly important, because I was there where I was so incredibly unhappy and depressed and anxious. My baseline for pleasure was so low. And I'll never forget that moment, because it changed my perspective on everything. And that's what I want to share with you today. So let me stop being such a giant turd right now and gather myself and share the rest of this message with you. If you take a break and you try a dopamine fast, a period of time away from the things that mess you up in your life, I promise you, you're going to get to this point where you're happier with a lot less. And that's my message for you today. And that's why I want you to think about this month picking one thing in your life that you want to disconnect from and to remove intentionally, whether it's excessive social media, like you're always on your cell phone, or you're drinking every weekend. Alcohol is a huge overstimulation of dopamine. So with social media, it's just dopamine fired at you full force, and your brain just doesn't have a chance to take a pause and just recover. So pick one thing. Pick an amount of time that you want to spend away from one of these things, whatever it is for you. It could be anything that you're working through. But take an intentional period of time away from it and let your brain have the chance to reset and to restore a healthy baseline where you could just feel happier and more fulfilled with less in your life. Like that family in India that had nothing but was happy. I want you to take this and try it for yourself, because it really works. It worked for me. I took a 30-day challenge to myself to quit porn, quit masturbation a long time ago, and it changed my life, and it made me so happy with the littlest things. It increased so much sensitivity that had been lost due to bombarding my dopamine receptors with constant stimulation. It's okay to take a pause from what mainstream culture wants you to do, which is to get swept up into more, new, all this junk that you don't need. I have friends who are millionaires who are terribly unhappy, and I have friends who have nothing and they're happy. It isn't a factor of getting more in your life. Sometimes it's a matter of removing stuff from your life so you can appreciate life fully for what it is. I mean, we got beauty everywhere. There's nature. There's so much that is enough to make a person feel great in this world. You don't need things like drugs, alcohol, porn, all these artificial stimulators that are aimed to like really push you to the limit, into overdrive. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti-technology or anti-stimulation. I think it's fine, but it needs to come from a place where you're at a healthy baseline, where if somebody took everything away from you, you'd still be okay, and you'd be happy, and you'd be all right. So my challenge to you, my friends, is to consider trying a dopamine fast, maybe even this month. I want you to comment below the one thing you're going to quit and for how long you're going to quit it. And I recommend at least 14 days to 30 days, because that's what science has proven to rewire your brain and change your brain chemistry. So if you can take a break from the constant overstimulation in your brain for at least 7 to 30 days, you're gonna notice a tremendous improvement in your mood, in your health, in your happiness, in your energy. And it all has to do with that restoration and healing of your baseline for pleasure. You're gonna go from down here, overstimulated and unhappy unless you get more and more and more, to a place where you're up here and you're all right. And now, if somebody adds something to you, you're sensitive to it and you enjoy it more. Or if something bad happens, you feel it. That is what it means to be a normal human being, not numb, not, despondent, disconnected. It means to be here and to feel the full range of emotions in a healthy, natural way, the ups and downs of life. That is a great place to be. And my mission in this video is to encourage you to try a dopamine fast. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I can't believe I freaking cried on camera. What is going on? I never cry. It's just allergies. So embarrassed right now.